Yes, ladies and gentlemen, day three at Stumps, and India trail by 191. Remember, Australia got 480 in that first innings in the fourth test here at Ahmedabad. And India today, well, they resumed the day 36 for none, and they got some runs, in particular Shubman Gill, and not to forget Virat Kohli, who's got a 50 after an eternity, it feels like that, and he's going to be remaining not out at Stumps. He'll, of course, be chasing that elusive ton, dare I say, on day four. But let's see how that, of course, trickles. And we'll look back at the day's play with Anirudh Suresh and Gurkirat in just due course. But keep your comments coming through. We already have one from Chachant who's going on to say this is a poor pitch, no help for bowlers even in the third day, and no help for batters as well. Run rate below 3. I mean, India looked very positive in that first session, but I think Australia did really well to hold them off in the second session. I think they conceded just 59 runs or something. We'll get into the specifics of it with Anirudh and Gurkita, like I said, but keep your comments coming through and subscribe if you guys are watching for the first time. Speaking of Anirudh, let's get him on before we wait for Gurkita. Anirudh, we haven't seen a single Kremlin in this pitch so far. Is it reflective of the score and where we stand on day three at Stumps?
Yeah, just as what we all expected, pretty much. That this pitch did absolutely nothing day one and day two, and day three it's probably been slightly more. I mean, I won't say bowler friendly. That would be a criminal offense if I say that. It has been more, conducive slightly to the spinners, especially because I think they showed a graphic that the amount of turn has increased by zero point 0.7 degrees today, and we saw a couple of balls turn sharply, and there was one ball that Todd Murphy bowled that hit the foot marks and that went through the gates of Shubman Gill, and he was lucky that it didn't crash onto the stumps. It went above the stumps. But yeah, I mean, this is we are talking about like Rawalpindi territory here. It's been so flat, and I think Australia are pretty much very used to playing on these surfaces now that they played that Pakistan series last year. So it's like a fourth test of the Pakistan series for them. They have been toiling hard, and I don't think they'll be frustrated. They have enough practice playing on such non-responsive, docile wickets. So it's pretty much what we expected. Again, this looks to be headed for a draw unless something dramatic happens. But let's hope and pray that the pitch breaks up tomorrow or day after, so that we have at least 1.5 days of interesting cricket, because this is terrible. I don't know how anyone can see this and just say this is attritional cricket. It's riveting, etc., etc. It's just straight out boring to watch, and I can't see how it is any different from the pitches we were all bashing in Pakistan, saying that it's crap. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I get your sentiment. I think a lot of people in the comments agree with you, Anirudh. So you're not the only one feeling this. Our Earth is best saying boring test match. Avneet Singh saying if there are no collapses, this is heading towards a draw. Aj Joshi as well saying it could be a draw. And by the looks of things, I mean, we can't really kind of go past that, right? Because we haven't seen any sort of things for the bowlers. It's hard work, it's toil. Many people might question the third spinner, which we'll get to in due course. But let's, of course, get to Gurkirat right now, who joins us. Gurkirat, what did you make of the day's play in Ahmedabad? Because India did threaten in the first morning. Australia pulled things back nicely. Do you think it's a shared day, or do you think India still won the day overall?
No, it's India's day, but I agree with Anirudh. If the pitch doesn't break up, this could really be a drawn test match. I was a little surprised. I thought that the pitch might start breaking up in the third session today, but it didn't happen. And I thought in the last 1 hour, Smith really went nowhere with his tactics. Could have probably taken the new ball and given it to spinners from both ends, with Kuhneman from one end and one of Lyon on Murphy from the other end, because with the ball going soft, the spinners were not going to trouble any of these batters too much. And Jadeja was actually an LBW candidate for the longest time. It's just that the pitch really didn't have enough pace, so he could just go back and adjust late. But with the newer ball, he could have really been in trouble, and then he could have employed Kuhneman from the other end to sort of trouble Kohli with the ball going away. given his weakness against left arm spin. So I really thought, post Shubman Gill's dismissal, which was around the 76th, 77th over, uh, Smith went nowhere with his tactics. He was just confused. He was in two minds whether he wanted to take the new ball and not wanted to take it. And then when he took the new ball, he gave it to Stark. I mean, who's been the least aggressive bowler of the day for Australia, and Kohli was actually not going to have any troubles, playing Stark, because there is no swing on offer. And in fact, if Gill would have been staying there, then probably, whenever Australia would have taken the new ball, he would have switched gears and looked to be even more aggressive.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about Shubman Gill right now, because even though many people are criticizing the pitch, like Greg here with a cheeky comment saying the curator won the day should be given contracts for all national highways in India, and Ajit Joshi saying India bats last, so there is a risk if the pitch breaks up. Let's see how it really trickles forward, like I said. But Shubman Gill, guys, has he inevitably kept KL out of the team? I asked KL out of the team. I've asked Anirudh just this before we kind of got on air, but he reckons that KL might still play the WTC final, given that KS Bharat has not been as impressive with the bat in hand. How do you see it unfold? And a word on Shubman Gill's innings. Gurkirat first and then Anirudh.
So KL keeping is something that I remember I had brought up during the Bangladesh test matches, that if India really want to play Shubman and both Shreyas, because at that point of time Shreyas was fit and he was going to be in the 11, the only way they could have played both Gill and KL Rahul was with KL keeping wickets. I think if KS Bharat doesn't have a good test match, then it is possible that India might just go ahead and ask KL Rahul to keep wickets for one test match, because he's actually been good in England. The What they'll have to figure out is that who do they open with, because if you have KL Rahul playing as an opener, then keeping wickets is very difficult. If he's going to keep wickets, the more logical thing is to have him bat at 5 in the middle order. But again, Shubman Gill is still a little suspect with the ball coming in swinging conditions, and KL Rahul did do well as an opener in those conditions. So it's a very tough call to make. I do believe that India will play both of them, because they don't have Pant as well, and Shreyas Iyer in that one Test match in England didn't really inspire any confidence, uh, you know, of him doing well in overseas conditions. So it might just happen, but where does KL bat would be interesting to see.
Okay, and Anirudh, the word on Shubman Gill, please, because I know it was a docile wicket, many people calling it an absolute belting wicket to bat on, but you still have to kind of take advantage as a batter. And it was a chanceless knock, right?
Outstanding, and I mean, he was under a bit of pressure heading into this test, because he had played about 10 9 10 home tests before this, and he had not done well at all, and his average was in the 20s at home, and he really needed a big knock to justify the hype surrounding him. We all knew how good he was, but just like he did in the ODIs, just like he did in the T20Is, he just needed a proper knock of substance to just basically just say that, yeah, I'm here, and I'll make it count. And he's finally made it count. And I would I mean every aspect of his innings was impressive, but something I would like to bring up is that passage of play in the second session. Man, Green and Stark were both reversing the ball. Green was reversing the ball into Shubman Gill, and Stark was reversing the ball away from Gill. And if he had got out then, I think India would have been in a spot of bother for sure. I think if India had lost one there, it could easily have been two or three, because the both the pacers were getting the ball to tail in very late, and Gill just played exceptionally in that passage, especially. He was so assured. He was, and like Gurkirat said, we know that Gill has his troubles against the ball coming in, but when Green was targeting him relentlessly with the ball coming in, tailing in late, and even at one point, Carey was standing next to the stumps, and trying to just unsettle Gill, but he was not phased at all. He was just going about business as usual, and it was so impressive, and he really needed this knock. So we've had three people get the monkeys off their back in 2 days. First, we had Green get his century. First, then we had Bahuma get his century, and now we have Gill get his century at home, first century. So I know what Avnish is thinking already. So, but we'll see that tomorrow.
It's gonna be Kohli's day
He
for
should be. He should be. Avnish should be happy anyway because Kohli scored a 50 after 13 innings.
yeah.
The
I mean,
last
I was
the last
delighted.
Test 50 he scored was in Cape Town, which was also the last Test match that Kohli had captained. So I think Avnish should be happy anyway that at least maybe if not the entire monkey, some part of the monkey is off the back. Uh, but yes, what you mentioned. There's slight difference. I think because he was settled, it also allowed. And yes, this pitch might have been docile. It didn't really have anything to offer. But I do believe that you know this kind of a pitch was due for someone like him because in his short test career he's actually played on very difficult wickets. Those three test matches in Australia, then even when he was playing in India, the three pitches versus England after the first test match, then playing against New Zealand at home on those two pitches, especially the Mumbai pitch again was not an easy one. uh, and then the WTC final in England and the solitary test match in England opening. So I do believe that somewhere he needed, he had probably earned this kind of a pitch, and it was good that he didn't throw it away because even Rohit Sharma was looking good, but he had a very tame dismissal. Pujara was looking good, but again he also ended up not converting it when I actually thought that Pujara could also score another 100. So hopefully this 100 keeps him in good stead, and basically in no time, I think from December to March, in around 70-80 days, he's gone from having zero international hundreds to seven international hundreds.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes about how he's, of course, taken to all three formats absolutely brilliantly. And good points mentioned by Anirudh earlier and Gurkirat right now as well. And Gurkirat, the Avneet agreeing with you in terms of saying Rohit would be not the happiest man after the way he threw his wicket away, because it could have been a different conversation altogether that would be having, because the way Rohit and Shubman Gill were actually taking the game away in that first session, you thought that dismissal is something Australia needed. Right. I just want to ask you guys, just from an Indian perspective, because there's so many other subplots to talk about, and there's plenty of questions coming in from the comments below, which we'll take. The biggest one is this one, right? And if so, what is the modus operandi going ahead in this match, Anirudh, from an Indian perspective? How do they win the test match? They're what, 191 runs behind right now. So you're thinking you're obviously going to go to day 5 to bat till probably the morning session. You with maybe a 50-60 run lead. Do you think India will look a similar way?
I think
Uh,
Anirudh, and then Dukira.
Sorry. Yeah, so what they trail by around 190 today, and there are 2 days left in the test. So I would say just if the pitch remains the same or probably just slightly worse, then bat the whole day tomorrow, score 300, 320 more, take a 100, 120 run lead, and then just declare after that. And give yourself the entire day fight to take 10 wickets. You can chase all, if Australia do set a target of 40 or 50, you can chase that. But I think taking a lead of 100 and putting Australia into bat on day 5 would put real pressure under Australia. Will put Australia under real pressure. So I think that is the most straightforward way for India to go about. No need to complicate
But
anything.
they're going to take at least 2 sessions, 2.5 sessions at best to clear this 191 deficit, right?
Yeah, so I mean that's why I'm saying, right? There'll be like 90 overs bowled tomorrow. If you go at 3.25 runs per over, you'll get 300 at by stumps. So if you get to 300 by stumps, you already have a lead of 100 plus, and then you can declare. Or maybe if India get bowled out for 400 odd and concede a lead of 50 and 60, I don't think that will be the worst thing to happen either, because you get to probably bowl 5 or 6 overs towards the end of play and then test the Australian openers, get a wicket or two if you're lucky. So there are multiple ways for India to still win this match, and I think this match is still very much in the balance. And I'll repeat the same thing I said yesterday. A lot will depend on how the pitch plays once again. If the pitch does not break up, then I think it's advantage India, because they are already like what 300 for 3 right now. So just just go about business as usual. But if the pitch starts doing tricks, uh then yeah, I mean Australia might be slightly optimistic, but given the strength and depth India have they bat till number 9 essentially. So even if the pitch breaks up, I don't think India will need to fear losing this match. So yeah, unless they have a horrendous morning session, which I don't think they will. So unless India have a horrendous morning session, I think they'll be safe.
Okay. Gurkirat, let me ask you a chance question here, and in many ways, Shubs as well. Can India bat at a 4+ run rate tomorrow, bat for 2.5 sessions, and ask Australia to bat again? And Shub looked at it from an Australian angle, saying, is there a way Australia can win this test? So please feel free to answer both.
So I think a lot is going to depend upon how the first session goes for India. Uh, and also in this test match, the first session has been the most productive one in terms of run scoring. If you compare the run rate. So if India do, have a good session, say get 80, 90 runs, probably maybe at max a loss of 1 wicket, that so that means they're only 100 runs behind at lunch with 6 wickets in hand. I think from there on, especially an hour after lunch is when India would actually start thinking of switching gears and pressing the accelerator. So if that happens, if India are only one down and have scored 80 odd runs by lunch, then I think they'll seriously start considering to bat till stumps and try and get a lead of 150, 120, or maybe 120 if 150 is not possible by end of day. It's all going to depend on how the first session goes, and if India do have a lead of 120 or 150, maybe what they can also do is, if they really want to make sure that they want to they completely want to take out the take out the possibility of them batting again, they could even bat an hour on day 5 if they are in that good of a position. For Australia to win, they actually need an Indian collapse. They need, I think, around the lead of, I think the max that they can let India score is probably 400. And again, if they have India all out by around 380, 400, just before tea, then they have to bat aggressively, probably bat for 40, 50 overs, and then try and attack India all out, give them a target of 215, 70 overs, and see how, if there is something possible. But here's the thing, I don't think that even if the pitch breaks up, it will break up, it will create a kind of a collapse, because the pitch is slow. Breaking up and the ball turning is one thing, but at what pace does the ball misbehave is another, right? And all throughout in this test match, the ball, even when the ball has moved, or has reverse swung, or has turned, it's not turned at pace, because if the ball was turning at pace, Jadeja would have found life much much more difficult with the way he was batting against spin today. Or even you wouldn't have seen someone like Usman Khwaja go deep into the crease and then play after the ball has turned. So uh, I don't see how a result is going to come here. I see a draw being a very likely possible, likely possibility, unless there is reverse and a collapse is created, or you come across a spell that we have never seen before. I don't think any team is winning it.
Okay, let's see, of course, if that's on the cards. I mean, if there is a horrendous collapse, like the boys are saying. Prashant Guru saying sending Jadeja ahead of Shrey is good strategy because low order collapsed after this strategy in the previous match. I mean, it's a similar question that even Pratik Kandari posed to us earlier, boys. And do you think this is now a position for Jadeja, given the fact that Pant's not there, that needs a left hand, you need a left hander to just break that monotony of right handers? Is number 5 the new position for Jadeja and Tests, Anirudh?
I don't think so. I think they just wanted a left-right combination, and that's why they sent Jadeja ahead. But I still would have loved to see Aksar get a promotion because he's probably been the best batter across both sides. At least against spin, he's looked comfortably the best batter, and he's averaging 92 so far this series. And after being wasted at number 9, constantly, especially in the previous match, it would have been really encouraging to see Aksar get promoted instead of Jadeja. And
Yeah.
not to mention, if Jadeja slow down the order, it gives even more assurance to the Indian batting, because you kind of extend the batting lineup, and it adds it's even bigger headache for Australia to contend with Aksar first, try to get him out, and then again Jadeja after that. So personally, I would have loved to see Aksar get the promotion instead of Jadeja, but it has not happened. But I don't really think this is a new position or whatever. I just feel that they just wanted a left right combination and they felt probably Jadeja was the best bet. That's what the management thought, I feel.
Hmm. I want to ask Anirudh another one because it's just kind of popped into my head right now. In terms of even Gurkirat's opinion is most welcome here. About third spinners, guys, so far in this match. We mentioned it about how India, of course, underused Akshar. At least that's what we thought initially. Kunaman today, 13 overs compared to his counterparts in Lyon bowling 37 and Todd Murphy bowling 22. What was the thinking there, Anirudh? Because he's, of course, offering something else. And did you see any sort of merit in that decision that Steve Smith took?
Merit in what? Bowling Konaman just 11 overs or picking him in the 11? What is
No,
your.
bowling just 13 overs so far in the test.
I think it was justified. I mean, he was probably the most non-threatening spinner of all, and Murphy and Lyon both excel on these kind of wickets. Murphy in particular also plays for Victoria, so he knows how to extract things out of this wicket, and we saw just how accurate and I mean he was zoning in the pads, and again he got the wicket of Pujara through that. He almost got the wicket of Jadeja as well. So, Kunaman did not threaten a lot. He's the kind of bowler who will be a real threat on rank turners, but he won't really do a lot on these wickets. So, in hindsight, you can probably say that Australia would have loved to have someone like a Scott Boland on this wicket. Just this is like an MCG, good old MCG wicket, or the MCG wickets of yesteryear, you can say, where 600 plays 500 or whatever. And Boland has kind of grown up playing on these kind of surfaces, so he would have been ideal. But that's just hindsight. How can you leave out Matthew Kuhneman after what he did in the previous match? And we've already we spoke about this after the first match in Nagpur, that Australia missed someone who turned the ball away from the right hander. So if they had dropped Kuhneman and played Boland and that had not gone well, then we would be saying, why did they drop Kuhneman? Why did they not have a guy turning the ball away from the right hander? So, see, at the end of the day, Australia don't have the same luxury as India, wherein they can play two pacers and three spinners, because they don't have a spinner who can bat as well as Akshar or Jadeja or Ashwin. So they have to, kind of sacrifice on the bowling front slightly. So it is what it is. It's just, the last pitch played in favor of Australia and Matthew Kuhneman. And this pitch, unfortunately, does not support their bowling lineup. So it like I said, it is what it is. There is
Yeah.
nothing to criticize. And just one point I would just say, we were talking about this off air as well. This is, I mean, Kinnaman bowled with great control, and if you saw the indoor match, it was Murphy who operated as a third spinner. He bowled very few overs, and in this match, because the pitch is flatter, it's Kuhneman who operated as a third spinner. So there is that flexibility. It's not like, you are the first spinner, you are the second spinner, you are the third spinner. So even these three spinners are operating, flexibly. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think there is nothing to be critical of or pinpoint.
Okay. Guys, let me just ask you this, Gurkirat, because essentially there's a lot of questions coming through before we wrap up the show here, and it's a good one from Pranav, and I'd like you to answer it. He asks you, and all of us essentially, what's more important considering the surface and what a team wants to achieve, pairing a left hand, right hand, or pairing two batters who can bat at different tempos, such as Gill and Pujara? Gurkirat?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. The ideal pair, as we've seen in the last 2 years in these kind of situations, is a pair of Pujara and Pant, which is both left hand, right hand, and two batters batting at different tempos. I do think that a pair which can bat at different tempos is slightly more important. But Jadeja's promotion today, I thought, was down to the fact that they thought, because it was around the time when new ball was due, they thought if the new ball is going to be due and it's going to be taken, and Stark may come and bowl, then Jadeja is probably the better batter as compared to Shreyas Iyer or an Akshar Patel. But what they didn't think about was the downside of that was that if Australia had still taken the new ball and bowled two spinners, then you would have had two batters who have not been very comfortable against spin. So it could have worked both ways. Uh, and Jadeja being a number five is not a problem the way I see it if you are playing outside Asia. I think against space, he's really improved his batting, and he was promoted in that Oval Test match as well at number five in the second innings ahead of Ajinkya Rahane when the new ball was due, because his
Yeah,
defensive game against pace has actually tightened up. So I don't suppose it's a issue in Pant's absence to send him at number five in overseas conditions. But I still feel in the last match they committed a blunder by not promoting Akshar in place of Jadeja, because on that pitch you were not going to get out of jail just through your defensive game. And even
yeah.
here, while defending, Jadeja was in some kind of a trouble.
Hmm.
So I think again, more than left hand, right hand, you need batters who are complementary, and sometimes both of them can be, complementing each other despite being of the same hand. I mean, you can have a right hander who's very good against spin, and you can have
Right.
another right hander who's very good against pace, and
Yeah.
both of them can cover up for each other. So that is also okay. It's
Just
it's
sticking.
important to.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sticking with Jadeja because a comments coming in asking us, can you guys check what's the average of Jadeja when he plays in the low order than in the top order? Vikram Mohanty goes on to say he feels that he plays better down the order. Now, our statsman's done some running around to give us some data. I'll just read it out to you because Jadeja essentially, when he bats 4, 5, and 6, that's 18 innings, and he has his average of 34.5. And from 7, 8, 9, he averages 36.6. I mean, he's batted 76 innings there compared to the 18 that he's batted at 4, 5, 6. So, Vikram Mohanty, there's some merit to what you're saying, but I get why you're getting that illusion. And Pranavanand going on to say that there's a drop in Jadeja's average when he bats in the top five compared to when he bats outside. That's what you expect in the bowling era. Okay, guys, just before we wrap up, then, day four and predictions, please. Are we going to see a Kohli 100? Are we going to see Indian collapse? Are we going to see India enforce it and bat it a baseball sort of mold? What's happening? Anirudh first.
I really can't see an Indian collapse. I think even if India collapse, by which I mean lose 2 3 wickets in the first hour, I think the depth is still there for them to bat 40 50 more overs and then take the loss out of the equation. I see probably
A Kohli
India
100?
take a 30 40 run lead at least, and Australia losing maybe 1 wicket by stumps. I think that's what I see.
And Virat scoring 100, I'm guessing, no? Anirudh?
Uh,
Come on, he's your
look,
favorite batsman, man. Come on.
look, things that have been happening in the last 3 days. Bavuma scored a century after 7 years. Green scored a first test run after 20 tests, and Shubman Gill scored a maiden test run at home after 10 tests. I think if Kohli doesn't score a century tomorrow, then he's probably never scoring one again.
Oh God. Gurkirat, come on. Tomorrow it's Sunday. It's going to be a superb day, I'm guessing, from an Indian perspective, Virat Kohli perspective. I hope I just wake up in time to see it all unfold because normally my Sundays are 11 o'clock starter. But what do you think is going to happen, my friend? And do you think it's going to be India maybe trying to make a game of this? Because remember, if Sri Lanka actually had New Zealand in the first test, it could have actually been a completely different kettle of fish India would have been facing, right?
See, I think two batters will be quite important for India tomorrow. One is obviously Kohli, and uh, if he's able to bat the first star out, I think he could really bat long tomorrow, and it's very important for someone like him. Uh, and I do feel sort of Smith helped him today in the last 1 hour with his bowling changes, because he looked very edgy when he came out to bat before tea, and he just looked in all sorts of trouble, but by the end of day's play he was quite comfortable. So hopefully, if he's able to, he bats the first star out and then plays a long innings. The reason why I say the other batsman that I think will be very important for India is Shreyas Iyer, because if and when India decide that they have to press on the accelerator and put Australia under pressure, you need someone like Shreyas to come and start attacking against spinners. And Stark has really not had a good test match. And so if Kohli and Shreyas are batting together, both of them, despite being of the same handedness, can actually ensure that one takes on pace bowling and the other takes on spin bowling. and this pitch really doesn't have anything or any pace for for Stark to even bounce out Shreyas. So Shreyas can play an important role tomorrow. I really hope he does, because he's also not had a sizable contribution with the bat in this series so far. Hopefully he does, because he's also going to be a part of that WTC final if India go and play there. So you would want your batters to be carrying some sort of confidence. But yes, a Kohli 100 tomorrow would be quite delightful. Let's hope it happens, because it's been quite some long. It happened in 2019, the pink ball test. So yeah, let's hope it happens. But fingers crossed. And like Anirudh mentioned, I don't see India collapsing, because I think only one bowler here is capable of creating that collapse, and that is Stark.
Hmm.
And yeah, he's not been in his rhythm. In fact, he's actually conceded a lot of runs. Probably someone like a Cummings here, or maybe a Boland or Hazelwood would have been a lot more, a lot better, because they would have made sure that they are disciplined. They wouldn't have gone at 4.4 runs and over.
Yeah. There are no demons in this pitch so far, but in that little last monologue that Gurkirat just told us, there was some demons in the mic coming through. But look, we'll pardon that. And hopefully, it is, of course, a Kohli 100 on a Super Sunday. 75 years of friendship in India, Australia, and maybe it's a 75 international ton loading for Virat Kohli. There is an, of course, comment coming through Anirudh's way in terms of the football chat as well, saying congratulations for Arsenal winning the Premier League title. Don't jinx it, Chant. He's been counting his days precious. Right, guys, thanks so much for joining us in this Saturday scheme of things. The day 3 review, the game's moved on at a rapid pace, but we'd like for it to, of course, be a result-oriented one. Only time will tell if it's not a draw. Join us tomorrow at the same time. I'm guessing it's going to go into day 5 as well. And thanks, Anirudh and Gurkirat, for making your presence felt. Right, so lots of content coming through your way in terms of cricket.com. Remember, we're going to be live tonight at 9 p.m. for the Women's Premier League watch along. So join us then. And there's other stuff that you'd love to watch on cricket.com, such as Player in Focus with Art Sridhar. He speaks about Jadeja, Kohli, and all of that. That's on our app. And speaking of the app, download it, because it is absolutely refurbished and it is really meant for liking. My name is Avnish Haike. Goodbye from me, and we'll see you guys soon. And really appreciate all you guys in the comments below. And we'll end it with Greg, who says it will probably take 75 years for the pitch to break up. Cheers. We'll see you soon.